Alrighty, I'm going to show you today we're going to use the bean pot. Are you familiar with the bean pot? I wasn't until I went to like a party years ago. You know, like people sell things. I was like, I'll go. And so we're going to cook our meal in here. You just pop this whole thing right in the oven. So it's called a bean pot. I have no idea why it's called bean pot, but we're going to use that tonight. We're going to use cauliflower as our base. And let me show you what else we have here. We have cream cheese, onions and garlic, because that's always going to be the basic staple in my life, zucchini, orange, and yellow peppers. We are going to be making a twice-baked cauliflower bake. And this is good. Even if people don't really like cauliflower, I'm telling you, it's really good. Now, if you don't like vegetables or cheese, you will not like this recipe. That's just the facts. Oh, and we're also going to talk to you about, me and the bean pot today are going to talk to you about your feelings and how to feel them, right? I know it sounds weird. You're like, what? Yeah, that's actually a thing. Sometimes people need to know how to feel their feelings. So let's jump into it right now. Now listen, what we're doing today, like I said, is a veggie bake. And it's really good because it can go all in one pot. You don't have to have a bean pot. You can put it in a casserole dish with a lid. Lid is helpful though. The last 10 minutes, we're going to cook this for about 40 minutes. 30 to 35 minutes is going to be covered. And then the last 10 minutes of that is you're going to take it off so it can just brown a little bit up top. I'll show you what I mean. And I did 4 ounces of the cream cheese here, and I cut it into squares as best as I could because cream cheese is not necessarily something to like make easy. I'm actually, since I already pre-cut all of this, I'm going to put everything in the bean pot. And I actually oiled it. You could actually spray it. You probably don't even need to. It's just something that I do. I don't know if it's just like a habit or something. And we are going to put all this in here except for the cheese, because I want to put all of the cheeses and the sour cream, we're going to use sour cream too, on top. Oh, and I didn't tell you this, I also did jalapeños because I want it to be spicy. And then we're going to add some spices to this. So we're just going to toss that in here. And I don't need this, but it's just way too cute to not use. So I'm just going to mix all that in there. And look, when I tell you it really holds space, that's like, look, there's still so much for that. And now we are going to pull the cauliflower. What I want you to do with the cauliflower is to boil it to where it's not super smushy, but enough that you can like mash it down, because you want chunks of the cauliflower, but you want to be able to mash a lot of it too, just to kind of give it like a creamier base. So let's grab this. See her steaming, boy. She is steaming. She's very hot. And I have this habit where I cook and grab things that are hot. Don't do as I do, because you'll burn yourself. I'm just so used to it. Plus, this is how I cook my cauliflower, right? Usually I would steam it, but for this dish, I keep it like this, and you put it in boiling water like this. So then it's easy. You can just lift this up right here, and it makes it easier. And now we're going to just chop it, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to smash it down as much as I can while I talk to you about feeling your feelings. So let's talk about that. What does it mean to actually feel your feelings? Well, sounds silly. You might be like, I know what feelings feel like. If I'm angry, I'm angry. If I'm happy, I'm happy. Sure, but those are just describer words, right? So it doesn't really matter to me if you say that you're happy or that you're sad. Okay, again, describers. So if I said to you, how tall are you? You said 5'3". That's more descriptive. So it's going to be the same versus saying, hey, I'm just short. So what I want you to do is I want you to allow yourself to, first and foremost, identify what you're feeling. So remember that when you say things like angry, anger in itself is not really a true emotion. Anger is an assortment of emotions, okay? And what I mean by that is, with the assortment of emotions that anger provides, oops, I'll have this over here so the water can't come out. I like to put it over a thing. But so the assortment of emotions with anger are fear, frustration, and hurt, okay? So anything that you are angry about is going to roll up into one or all of those things, but it's fear, frustration, or hurt. Anything that you are angry about right now is going to fall into that category. So number one, you want to identify it, okay? You want to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. So before you can just say blanket statements of sad or whatever, you have to really be able to get into yourself to even ask yourself what that is, because realistically, if you think about it, for a lot of us, you know, we were told feelings are stupid. Well, and the reality is they're not stupid, but they're not a fact, right? They're your perceptions, but they're not facts. And just because you have a feeling doesn't mean that everybody else has to have that same feeling. That is where that ego part comes in at, to where you can understand that other people don't have to have that same exact feeling about that same thing. I mean, you see that a lot on various social media platforms, right? And so allow yourself to really examine what that feels like, because happy might also be a goal that is unrealistic for you. When I say happy, you have to identify what makes you happy, right? Like, what is your definition of happy? Because your definition of happy might be very different than mine. Okay, it might be vastly different than mine. It doesn't make mine right and yours wrong, or vice versa. It just is what it is. So when you're able to be in that space of identifying how it is, now you can feel it. And this is where that deeper understanding of feelings comes into play. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to make it seem like everybody else's feelings are stupid, but they're also not your job to process for people. So before you are worrying about everybody else processing your feelings, you must take accountability of understanding that your feelings are nobody else's responsibility. And again, their actions, right? Somebody's actions can make it a little bit more difficult. It can anger you, it can do those things, but they're not really doing it. It's just their actions and behaviors, which comes a whole bunch into the whole coaching thing. Okay, so hold on. Now that I got this going, I am going to, and I'll show you, see how I didn't want it ricey, but I wanted it enough that I'm going to pop it right into this bean pot. We're going to use the spatula that I just wanted to use because it says witch's brew on it. Okay. We're going to make sure all of that's in there. Yum. We'll put this in the sink. Now what we're going to do is we're going to throw, because I don't have enough onion and garlic in here, I'm going to add some more onion and garlic powder. Again, you guys don't have to do that. It's just my odd addiction to both of these things that I adore. So I like it super garlicky. And you guys know this by now. And I also like to add a little bit of sea salt. Sea salt's good. I usually use pink Himalayan salt, but sea salt's really a good additive as well. Not a lot of it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take some Parmesan cheese. Usually I would take the shredded Parm, or I'd shred it myself, but today, just throw a generous portion in there. I mean, you can measure it if you choose. And then we're going to throw in those cubed cream cheese. It was literally an excuse to lick my fingers. I'm going to put all this in here so I'm not wasting it. And I'm going to take about, let's see, this is an 8-ounce thing. I'm going to say, let's take a good solid 4 of the 8, if not more. I'd say solid 4. Okay. And then I'm going to throw a little bit of shredded Mexican cheese on this. I'm telling you, this is so good. You can even put chicken in here if you chose to. I don't really eat meat like that, at least not regularly. So I'm making it more of a vegetarian. It still has a ton of dairy and cheese and stuff in it, but it doesn't have any meat in it. So it's a good meatless Monday recipe if that's what you're looking for. And because there's not just quite enough cheese yet, I'm also going to do a couple cubes of fresh, sharp cheddar cheese. And I'm just going to cube it and put it on top. So here's the thing when it comes to your feelings. You want to be careful to assume that other people have to walk on eggshells because of your feelings, right? So if you're having a bad day, it's really not others' responsibility to make that day easier for you because you're having a bad day. You know what I mean? So, and that I think is the harder part when it comes to ego, right? We want people to not necessarily feel bad for you, but this is why it's up to you to feel your feelings, because sometimes they're not even your feelings. You think that they're your feelings, but you're like, well, I don't know why I feel that way. Well, okay, let's examine it, right? So now we're going to put all that in there. Look at all that. It's cheese, right? But now we have to mix it up. So, and again, this bean pot is so damn big. So I'm going to mix it up pretty well. And then we're going to pop this in the oven at 350 for 35 minutes covered, 35, 40 minutes covered, and then take it off the last 10 minutes so it can brown. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how amazing this is. But in the meantime, while I'm still stirring this, another thing with your feelings, because like I said, very often you might have come from a family that told you feelings were stupid or your feelings didn't matter. Your feelings absolutely matter. I think what our parents and what our people before us were trying to tell us, I just don't think that they had the right vocabulary or even the right tools to really articulate it to us, is I think that they were trying to tell you what I'm trying to tell you, which is those are your feelings or not anybody else's, like, because that is valid. But I think it's how they said it. And then I don't know if you guys grew up this way, but I remember, you know, my dad or other adults would say things like, do as I do, not as I say. I mean, okay, I hear you, but like, what? You know what I mean? To be fair, we all still do that, just not, maybe not on such a dramatic level. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. And again, I have it all mixed up. You saw everything that I added to it. Plus, it's always going to be down in the description on the video. But I like a good one pot or a good crock pot of something. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I haven't even cooked it yet. How is that even possible? Oh my gosh. Like what? And I really want to do a key lime pie this week. I love cream cheese. I love cheese. I love any kind of cheese. So I need the lid. We are going to put this in the oven, like I said, for 30 minutes and 35 minutes covered. And then we're going to uncover it. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to show you what it looks like plated up. But like I said, you could add chicken to it if you choose, but it's a really good main dish, or you can even do it as a side dish. And this thing goes in the oven just like this. It's awesome. All right, so I got my fancy plates. Woohoo! Dixie, fancy. And I will show you. I am going to take this off to show you so you can see it sizzling. You can even hear it sizzling, but. So this looks so yum. So I'm super excited about plating this up. So here's another thing about your feelings, right? And I really, really want to be clear on this, is that it is imperative that you understand, when I had said earlier that they're your feelings to process, you have to understand that just because you might respond to somebody a certain way, if they were going through something or if they were experiencing something, and you feel as though other people don't, your feelings are valid, right? But it doesn't mean that they have to change. And I think that's the biggest part for you, is to understand that people really don't have to make that change. That's right. I love this so much. I cannot get enough, like legit serious. And that's the big key. That's when you're really working through your ego and ego integrity and, well, that's something different, but like your ego strength and different things like that. But first and foremost, you have to be able to articulate what that feels like for yourself, really. Okay. You have to be willing to be vulnerable to yourself, to even acknowledge how that feels in your body. What does it feel like in your brain? What does it feel like in your body? What's going on? What's your thought process, right? How does it feel? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel like, what does stress feel like? I feel stressed. What does that mean? Well, you know, stress. No, I don't know, because my stress might be different than yours. So when you're able to look to yourself outside of who you are, like outside of yourself, kind of think of your emotions and everything is separate from you. They're not, but think of them as they are. So this way you can articulate it more in your head, like you can process it, right? As if you were looking at somebody else going through it. So good. So hot, but so good. So highly recommend. If you make this, let me know down below. You can add different things to it. You can add bacon bits to it. You can add chicken to it. I'm sure chicken in this would be really good, like a cheesy chicken. But again, not really that much of a meat eater, but I will eat it every now and again. But yeah, so I really want you to start focusing on also accepting that you also can't change or make other people feel anything. Okay, so stop trying. I know it's hard. It's very, very difficult, but it isn't once you really start to focus more on yourself and staying in your lane and boundaries and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I want you to really start feeling your feelings. Let me know how that feels to you, because it might be a new feeling versus just living in your head and saying, this is how I feel. Identify it. Okay, so bon appetit. Eat up.